Welcome back, everybody, to another episode on the unit circle. But this time we're going to use the unit circle to evaluate trig functions. So if you have not watched the intro to the unit circle video, I highly recommend that you do that because it'll make this video much easier to understand. So we're going to start and do a couple of them in quadrant 1 just to help you evaluate. And then we're going to do some that are in other quadrants using reference angles, and that should kind of help you out. So, important thing to remember from the first video is x comma y correlates to cosine comma sine. So all of these coordinates, to refresh your memory, cosine is the x value, sine is the y value. And then the numbers off to the side are tangent. Okay, the numbers off to the side are tangent. And remember, tangent comes from sine divided by cosine. And then we also talked about where coordinates are positive and negative. So let's just jump in and kind of show you where things are coming from. So we have the first one is the sine of 45. So we're going to go over here to the sine of 45. And sine is the y coordinate. So the sine of 45 is just equal to the square root of 2 over 2. And you're done. Now some of you might be wondering if you could check with your calculator. Yes, you can. But the calculator is not going to tell you root 2 over 2. It's going to give you the decimal. So if you type the square root of 2 over 2 in the calculator and get the same decimal, you know you did it correctly. But there's going to be many times where you're not allowed to use your calculator when using the unit circle. So it's extremely important to know how to use it to evaluate other angles. Okay, that's why I said in the first video, if you know quadrant 1, you are good to go. Let's do another guy. We got the cosine of pi over 4. So if we're going to do the cosine of pi over 4, which is also 45 degrees, we are over here. And cosine is the x value. So the cosine of pi over 4 is the square root of 2 over 2. And you are done. Game over. It's just that simple. We'll do another one, the tangent of 90. So once we get rid of that guy, we do the tangent of 90 degrees. We're up here. And our tangent is sine divided by cosine. So 1 divided by 0 is undefined. And we're done with stuff in the first quadrant. Now we could talk about a couple other ones if you want, such as 30 degrees. If we were going to do the cosine of 30, we would pick the square root of 3 over 2. If we were going to do the sine of 30, we would pick 1/2. If we were going to do the tangent of 30, it would be the square root of 3 over 3. You just have to know where we are and that it's cosine comma sine. So the fun stuff happens once we are doing other angles. And that's why I told you in the last video, you don't have to memorize it if you're good at drawing angles in standard position and reference angles. So 7 pi over 6. In an early video, we talked about how this guy over here was 6 pi over 6, and this guy was 3 pi over 6. This guy over here was 9 pi over 6. So 7 pi over 6 is somewhere just a little bit past 6 pi over 6. And then we would draw our terminal side, and our reference angle is 7 pi over 6 minus 6 pi over 6. Our reference angle was pi over 6. So we are pi over 6 units away. Now, the reason we did that is because pi over 6 is the reference angle, which in the last video, if you paid attention to what coordinates are where, over here the coordinates are negative, comma negative, and our tangent is positive. So all we need to do is copy this set of coordinates over here. So this is negative square root of 3 over 2, comma negatives 1/2. So if we're going to look for the sine of 7 pi over 6, that's the y coordinate. Sine of 7 pi over 6 is negative 1/2. And yes, if you were to type that in your graphing calculator, you would get negative 0.5, and that's really easy to check. Sometimes they're easy to check, but when they're radicals, they're not. That's why you have to give exact answers. But if you know how to draw an angle in standard position, our reference angle was pi over 6, and all you have to do is copy this one and put it where you need it. Okay, so a lot of these are really easy to do as long as you know your first quadrant and how to find a reference angle. Take cosine of negative 240. Negative 240, we just went negative 90, negative 180, and we have 60 more to go till we get to negative 240. So our reference angle is 60 degrees for this example. So all we have to do is copy the 60-degree angle and put it over here where coordinates are negative, positive. So if we have negative, positive, and we're looking for cosine, cosine has a x value. So this is negative 1/2. And you don't really have to write the root 3 over 2, but you can if you want. So we have negative 1/2. And we're done. Last one is tangent of 4 pi over 3. So we're going to go 4 pi over 3. We're going to clean up the unit circle here real quick. And in the video for angles in standard position, 1 pi was 3 pi over 3. And this guy was 1.5 pi, and this guy was 4.5 pi over 3. So 4 pi over 3 is just going to be 1 pi over 3 away from the x-axis. So we just copy the pi over 3 coordinates. This is negative 1/2, comma negative square root of 3 over 2. And since we're finding tangent, that's still positive square root of 3. Because remember, tangent is positive down here because sine is negative, cosine is negative, and tangent is sine divided by cosine. So a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So the tangent of 4 pi over 3 is the square root of 3. Okay, so I know the unit circle is a little bit tricky all by itself. However, if you have a good foundation of the unit circle and what the coordinates are, what's sine, what's cosine, how do you find tangent, and this of course is just quadrant 1. If you know how to use a reference angle and draw an angle in standard position, it's pretty easy to work with. Okay? So just make sure you have those two skills solid and add them together, and you got the unit circle for evaluating. That's it for this video. This is Longo, and I'm out. See you, bye.